The cold didn't bother Dashay anymore. Not really. She'd stopped feeling it the way other people did, as something to escape from. Now it was just another texture in her world, like the rough concrete beneath her palms, like the vibration of footsteps 3 blocks away, like the way sound moved differently when rain was coming. She sat with her back against the brick wall of Murphy's pawn shop, knees drawn up, fingers tracing the familiar cracks in the pavement. This corner was hers. Had been for 2 years. The shopkeepers knew her voice. The regulars dropped coins without asking questions. And most importantly, the gangs left her alone. Invisible, that's what she'd learned to be. But today, the air felt wrong. Dashay tilted her head, listening. Not with her ears, with her whole body. The city had a rhythm, a pulse she'd memorized like a song. Morning rush at 7, the bakery truck at 8:15, school buses at 8:45, lunch crowds, evening commuters, night predators. It was 3:47 p.m. She knew because the factory shift change happened at 3:45, and the workers always passed her corner 2 minutes later, their boots heavy with exhaustion. But underneath that rhythm, something else was building. Engines. Not cars, motorcycles. Deep, throaty rumbles that made the ground hum beneath her. She pressed her palm flat against the concrete, feeling the vibrations travel up her arm. Her heart rate kicked up a notch. 10 bikes, maybe 12, coming from the south. That wasn't unusual. The Hells Angels owned 3 blocks in this neighborhood, and their motorcycles were as common as sirens. Dashay had heard their leader, once a man called Reaper, whose voice sounded like gravel being crushed. He'd given her a $20 bill last winter without saying a word. Just placed it in her hand and walked away. She hadn't spent it for 3 days. Couldn't believe it was real. No, the motorcycles weren't the problem. It was the other sound that made her stomach twist. Footsteps, dozens of them. Positioned wrong, too spread out, too still. Dashay's breathing quickened. She turned her face toward the intersection where the vibrations were strongest, her useless eyes seeing nothing but the same gray fog they always did. But her other senses painted a picture that made her blood run cold. Men. At least 15, maybe 20, scattered across the rooftops, tucked into doorways, hiding in the alley across from where the motorcycles would pass. And they were waiting. "Oh no," she whispered. "Oh no, no, no." Her fingers found her cane, a bent piece of metal pipe she'd wrapped with duct tape. She'd learned not to carry anything valuable, learned not to trust anyone, learned that the best way to survive was to keep your head down and your mouth shut. But those bikers had no idea what was coming. And Dashay, the girl who heard everything, was the only one who knew. Before Dashay's world falls apart, do us a favor, drop a comment and say where you're watching from. We actually read these, and your words keep these stories coming. If you're here for the raw, real, heart-stopping stuff, like this video, subscribe, and hit that bell, then share it with someone who forgot that strangers can change everything. Her mind raced. It's not your problem. Stay invisible. You warn them. You become a target. You've survived this long because you don't get involved. She could smell gasoline now, feel the approaching thunder of engines getting closer. 30 seconds, maybe less. They'll die. The thought hit her like a fist. She'd heard enough violence in this neighborhood to know what an ambush sounded like. The silence before, the explosion after, the screams. "Not your fight," she muttered, but her hands were already shaking. 20 seconds. Dashay tried to picture their faces. Reaper, the one who'd given her money. Did he have a family? Did any of them? What would happen to their children? Their wives? Their brothers? What will happen to you if you help them? 15 seconds. The vibrations grew stronger. She could hear individual engines now, the slight variations in pitch that told her exactly how close they were. The ambush was perfectly positioned. The bikers would round the corner straight into a kill zone. 10 seconds. Dashay's chest felt tight. Every instinct she'd honed over 2 years screamed at her to stay down, stay quiet, stay alive. But then she thought about the man who'd given her $20, the woman who sometimes left coffee by her corner, the biker who'd once chased off someone trying to rob her. They weren't saints, but they'd never treated her like she was invisible. 5 seconds. "Damn it," Dashay hissed. She lurched to her feet, cane clattering against brick. Her voice came out as a croak first, too soft, strangled by fear. The engines roared closer. She could feel them in her bones now. Now. Run! Dashay screamed, her voice cracking across the intersection like a whip. It's a trap! Run! The engines didn't slow. They couldn't hear her over their own noise. Panic flooded her system. She stumbled forward, swinging her cane wildly, her other hand outstretched. Please! It's a trap! They're going to kill you! One engine cut out, then another. Someone had heard, and in that moment, Dashay knew her invisible life was over. The first bullet hit before Dashay finished screaming. She heard it, the sharp crack splitting the air, then the metallic ping as it ricocheted off something behind her. Her body moved on instinct, dropping low, palms scraping against concrete. Get down! A man's voice, deep, familiar. Reaper. The motorcycles erupted in chaos. Engines revving in reverse, tires screeching, men shouting over each other. But underneath it all, Dashay heard the other sound, the one that made her want to disappear into the pavement. Footsteps. Running. Toward her. The girl! Someone shouted from the rooftop. She warned them. Get the girl. No. 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 Dashay's cane had fallen somewhere. She crawled blindly, hands searching for it. For anything. The world was just noise now. Gunfire. Screams. The roar of engines circling back. She couldn't map it anymore. Couldn't make sense of which direction was safe. A hand grabbed her arm. She tried to scream, but nothing came out. Her body went rigid, every muscle locking in terror. This was it. This was how invisible girls disappeared forever. Easy, easy. The voice was rough, but not cruel. I got you. Stay low. The hand pulled her sideways, and suddenly she was moving half-dragged, half-carried across what felt like open ground. Bullets were still flying. She could hear them cutting through air, thudding into brick and metal. How was she not hit? How was he not hit? Behind the dumpster, the man grunted. Come on, kid. Work with me. She stumbled forward and felt the rusted metal against her back. The smell hit her immediately, rot and old food and piss. But she was behind something solid. Protected. Don't move. The man's voice was already fading. You move. You die. Understand? Dashay nodded, even though she wasn't sure he was still there to see it. The gunfight intensified. She pressed her hands over her ears, but it didn't help. The sound still reached her, still painted pictures she didn't want to see. Men screaming, bodies hitting pavement, the wet, heavy sound of something she recognized from 100 other street fights. This is my fault. I did this. No, that wasn't right. The trap was already set. The ambush was happening whether she warned them or not, but now she was part of it. Now they knew her voice. Her face or the space where a face should be, useless eyes and all. Stupid. So stupid. Time stretched and compressed. Could have been 2 minutes. Could have been 20. Eventually, the gunfire slowed, then stopped. The silence that followed was worse, thick and waiting, like the city itself was holding its breath. Clear left. Clear right. Jonesy's hit. Need a medic. Footsteps approached the dumpster. Heavy boots. Multiple pairs. Dashay tried to make herself smaller, knowing it was pointless. They'd heard her scream. They knew exactly where she was. You can come out now. Reaper's voice. She was sure of it this time. Dashay didn't move. Couldn't. Her body had stopped listening to her brain somewhere between the first gunshot and now. Girl. Closer now. Right in front of her. You saved our lives. Least you can do is let us see your face. I can't see yours, Dashay whispered. The words came out mangled, barely human. Silence. Then was that a laugh? Fair point. Something touched her shoulder. Gentle this time. Can you stand? She could. Barely. Her legs shook so hard she thought they might give out, but Reaper's hand steadied her. She heard other men gathering around, breathing heavy. The clink of weapons being holstered. Someone groaning in pain. How'd you know? Another voice. Younger. Angry. How the hell did a blind girl know about the ambush? I heard them. Dashay's throat felt raw. I heard them waiting. I hear everything. Everything, someone repeated, skeptical. There's 17 of you, Dashay said quietly. One's bleeding from his left side. Another has a limp he's trying to hide. 3 of your bikes won't start, fuel lines got hit. And there's still 2 men on the roof across the street, southeast corner. They're waiting to see what you do next. The silence that followed was different. Heavier. Southwest corner, Reaper corrected gently. But close enough. Dashay's face burned. Of course she'd gotten it wrong. She always... Torch. Reaper's voice cut through her spiraling thoughts. Southwest roof. Light it up. A single gunshot. A scream. Then nothing. 17, Reaper said, and Dashay heard something new in his voice. Something like respect. That's exact. Even I lost count. What do we do with her? The angry voice asked. She's seen too much. She hasn't seen anything, another voice said. This one amused. Exactly my point. She knows too much. We can't just... We owe her. Reaper's tone left no room for argument. She stays with us until this is sorted. Anyone got a problem with that? No one answered. Dashay felt the weight of their stares, or what she imagined as stares. 11 pairs of eyes on the blind girl who'd just painted a target on her own back. What's your name, kid? She almost didn't answer. Names made things real, but invisible was over now. Dashay. Well, Dashay. Reaper's hand squeezed her shoulder once. Welcome to the worst decision of your life. Dashay had every reason to stay quiet, every reason to let someone else be the hero, but she screamed anyway. And that scream? It cost her everything and gave her everything all at once. If stories like this remind you why humanity is worth believing in, do us a solid like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We're just getting started. Drop a comment and tell us about a time you chose courage over comfort. Then share this with the person in your life who always speaks up when others won't.